Welcome, everybody. So, happy Christmas
Happy Christmas.
and a perfect Hanukkah for those in Israel.
Perfect Hanukkah.
So, it's so nice to see you. We're a little group today. I wonder why. So, tonight we're going to talk a little bit about perfection. I thought this was the perfect day to talk a little bit about perfection. So, is perfection a non-dual quality? Can it be a non-dual quality? What is meant by it, because if you look at a perfectionist, so a perfectionist doesn't look so non-dual, does he? Everything has to be perfect, and that's not very relaxed. It's quite stressful when you're a perfectionist. Mistakes are not allowed. And when there is a mistake, of course, there's always somebody at fault. It's because of somebody else made a fault. And because the other one is making a fault, you had to make the mistake. You cannot help yourself. It's so horrible when you are a perfectionist to live in an imperfect world. Everything you do right is spoiled by another. It's horrible. So, what is this about perfectionism? And what is perfection exactly? Except that it is a pain in the ass, basically. A perfectionist and perfection. So we have to look maybe at perfection in a different way. And then, when we kind of start to look at it a different way, we come to kind of sentences as everything is perfect as it is. We live in a perfect world. We are all aware of this, that this world is perfect, isn't it?
Right.
Thank you, Donna. a, a perfect world. Everything is perfect. And in this perfect world and where everything is perfect, we suffer. And why do we suffer? Because we have a feeling, that we are not that perfect. So we have this perfect world, this perfect universe, and imperfect me living in it. It's like a little stain on the perfection of creation. It's quite painful because, if I like it or not, I'm making mistakes. I'm not able to do everything perfect. And maybe I'm at fault of the suffering of others. So, what is it with perfection? Is it a kind of torture? Is it a kind of mirror we have to look into as a non dual quality, which is showing us that we don't belong? that we are not part of it. Because this is often how we feel. The outsider, the one who doesn't belong, the one who is creating trouble. So when you look into perfectionism, it's such a strong drive, again, to survive. Because, if you're perfect, you can look God in the eyes. You can say, okay, God, I'm perfect as you are. So you can accept me. Give me your light. We can look at each other in the eyes because we belong. When you're perfect and a person is rejecting you, it's not your problem because you're perfect. The other person is at fault, isn't it? He made a mistake. He didn't recognize how perfect you are. So we have to be perfect because if we're not perfect, we're not acceptable. And again, I come back to the same again and again. So what we see, it's one of maybe the many, but for sure one of the qualities which is corrupted a lot. Because what we see is that perfection, if it is a non-dual quality, then one of the qualities of perfection should be that it is unconditional. And if you look how we look at perfection, there are so many conditions around it. No mistakes allowed. It has to be perfect. It's stressful. It has to be recognized as perfect by others. And so often, again, driven by a deep feeling of not being good enough. Imperfection becomes unbearable. Because directly you get negated. You don't belong. You're not part of. So I brought forward already the other idea that everything is perfect as it is. Maybe perfect in its imperfection. And why have things to be imperfect? So when you look at the floor from tiles, which is created by a Muslim craftsman, but you see there's this beautiful mosaic on the floor, beautiful tiles. And there's always one tile which is turned around, which is not in the right direction. Could be a very small tile, so first you don't see it, but there is always one tile. And partly it's there because we are not perfect. We cannot even strive to be perfect. There's only one person perfect or one power perfect, and that's God. And when you try to create something which is perfect, it's like you kind of, are in competition with God. So God is perfect, but his creation is imperfect. And again, oof. So if this is true, that God is perfect and his creation is imperfect, again, this looks like a torture. So why would his creation be imperfect? You know, if we are the mirror of God, or we look like God, or the creation is the mirror of God, that means that maybe God is not perfect also. That's another kind of idea about God, about creation. So the Dalai Lama brought forward that perfection you can only find in the grave. Then you are perfectly still. That's another thought. So to strive to be perfect, you don't need to, because perfection you will find at a certain moment after you die. So that leaves us with the question, okay, so say that we are not perfect. Not perfect is that we think as perfection should be. We are perfectly imperfect. Why? So when something is perfect, when we create something which is perfect, or we make something and we say, okay, it's perfect, then it's also finished. It's done. It's the end of a whole process. So it's where there is imperfection that there is movement possible, evolution possible. Perfection is maybe the end of everything. It's where maybe everything will finish. The end of the creation. So imperfection is the drive which makes evolution, inner growth, development possible. And in this, if we look at that this imperfection makes it possible for us to experience, to grow, to learn, to suffer life. And I don't mean suffer life in a negative uh, way. Only to suffer life is also to experience life, to grow through life. To be alive, to have a physical body, to be part of this universe, which is in development all the time, which is expanding, in which stars are dying and new stars are born, which is in a movement, which is refining itself again and again and again and again. In such a universe, we are absolutely perfect because we fit in. We moved through cycles of development as human beings and as the whole human race, or as group of humans. Cycles in which we build up to a certain point of maybe near perfection. A high point of expressing the talents and the qualities which are inside us, like in the Roman Empire. And then everything falls down again, is destroyed. And a new development takes place. And through history, we see a lot of this kind of movement of building up and falling down. And every time we build up again, it seems to be more refined and more refined and more refined. The expression of maybe the same talents, in which, if we look at it from the eye point of perfection, we make the same mistakes again and again and again and again. Why would we look upon it like this, that we make the same mistakes again and again and again and again? So what would happen if we wouldn't make these mistakes? If we would come to a point where there is eternal happiness, peace, no more suffering. It would be the end of a cycle. It would be the end of a cycle of development. That's it. So years ago, we went to Manchester and we talked about this before, and there we met this old man. He was already, when we met him, quite old. A beautiful, beautiful, beautiful man. A self-made enlightenment person, enlightened person, with such a wisdom. But because he was self-made and never had teachers, the way he was expressing himself was very, very simple, unique, and with a deep understanding, because, we can only be really simple about inner growth, about whatever you bring forward, if there is a deep understanding of what you're sharing with others. And his deep understanding was based on his experience of life in all its dimensions, his experience of spirituality, of mysticism. And I think it was the last time that we met him, he brought forward that he didn't really want to be born again. That he hoped that he was in the end of a cycle. And I think partly because he was not perfect yet. I'm not saying this to bring him down at all, but partly because, it was difficult for him to experience all the suffering around him, the suffering in his students, maybe also his own suffering, because he had quite a hard life. So, if we are in an end of a cycle and we are at peace with everything, eternal peace, eternal love, eternal harmony, then no development is possible anymore. No growth is possible anymore. And of course, when you find this inside yourself, you can come to a point where there is no need, maybe, to move through the cycle again. You're perfect. You're finished. And as being part of an imperfect universe, I don't believe that this is happening. When we come to the depth of ourselves, we find perfection in our true nature. We find perfection in the unconditional peace, the unconditional love, the unconditional purity, the unconditional innocence, the unconditional perfection which is part of us. But this unconditional perfection is married to a dual universe, a dual body, a dual mind, dual senses. So there is this beautiful, beautiful playground in duality. A beautiful playground in duality in which things are expressed through duality, in which things can expand, can take form, can exist through time and space. So we have, in the depth of ourselves, our true nature, the non-dual part of ourselves, which is connected in the depth with the dual parts of ourselves. And their growth is coming forward. So what is the suffering then? So part of this suffering is the moment we start to express in a dual world. We sometimes lose ourselves in duality. We sometimes forget our true nature or get disconnected from parts of our true nature through shocks, through trauma, because we don't believe in it anymore. We let it go. But again, this is the depth of our learning. This is the depth of really at a certain moment grasping this dual university, this dual university, universum, I mean, this dual world around ourselves. To get it, to understand it. To really understand, we have to move deeply into it. To really understand the depth of suffering, we need to suffer. But why? Why is it so important to suffer? What does it give to us? Because it's the same question kind of rephrased in a different way. Why is creation imperfect? Why do we need to suffer? So what would be the deepest suffering we as human beings are moving through? What is the most painful experience? So if you look at the most painful experience, it must also be the most unnatural experience. The experience which is most in opposite of our true nature. So I think, and again, this is me, imperfect. I think that the most painful experience is loneliness, the experience of separation. And of course, when we look at loneliness, we project this outwards, we project this towards the world, we project this towards each other. I'm not part of, I don't belong. But the experience itself, when we look to the depth of it, is where we lose connection. And always we also lost connection with our true nature or parts of our true nature. There is a rift, there is a rupture. And this isolation from the depth of ourselves, because we lost ourselves in duality. This is happening partly when we lose ourselves in duality. And we lose connection with our own true nature. Wholeness gets lost, unity gets lost. And how could that be? When there is perfection. Is this meant to be? And of course, on this Christmas day, you have the story, the parable Jesus brought forward about the lost sheep and how important this lost sheep is. So are we the lost sheep? Did we lose the connection? Yes, I think we are. And why is this lost sheep so important? So it's so important because it's adventure. What he moved through, it's suffering, is bringing forward something new. A new point of view, a new understanding. In knowledge, in experience. It's bringing forward a cycle which a person is moving through the moment he moves back into unity with whatever quality he lost connection with, in a new understanding. This brings wisdom, this brings insight, this brings compassion, empathy. It opens us up not only to our own suffering and an understanding and appreciation of our own suffering, but also to the suffering of others. And if we see suffering as imperfection, it brings us to a sense of perfection in the imperfection which is there. To be humane, to be part of this life, to understand the deeper need which is there in the universe, from which suffering is part. So if we are dead, will we come back again? When there is a need, we will come back again. It's the need we become aware of in the depth, I think, when we realize that we are all part of the same creation. We're all part of each other. We cannot separate ourselves from the universe, but we do. And that's how we learn. That's how we suffer. That's where loneliness is coming forward as the deepest suffering I think there is. The lack of connection outside ourselves and inside ourselves. And loneliness is part of the structure of us as human beings. How could you not experience loneliness as long as there is one lonely person on this planet? It's not okay. I overcame loneliness. I don't feel lonely anymore. I'm connected. I'm not separated anymore. I'm purely my true nature. And somebody else lost connection with true nature. And this somebody else is part of you. And you're part of this somebody else. So there is shared suffering. And this is part of perfection. That we don't need to carry the load alone. We carry it all together. We're learning together as one. And there is such a beauty in that, and such a perfection, and such a unity, and such a togetherness. We are able to experience each other's bliss, each other's pain, as if it's our own. If this is not perfection, I wouldn't know. So, I think we take a 5-minute break, and after 5 minutes, there will be a beautiful guided meditation.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Yes, I am unmuted. So, a very happy holiday day, Hanukkah, Christmas. However, today is every day special. The perfection in us greets the perfection in you. So let's get a comfortable position in which it's possible to suffer all this perfection. Find a place where we feel safe and supported. In such a way that it's very easy now to let the stress just slide away, slipping off of us, easily falling away. As we move with our consciousness towards the center of our being. Perhaps we can notice how the center of our being opens up to receive our consciousness. It's like a little reunion with ourselves. And for a moment, just let yourself be the awareness of that movement. Your consciousness going inside, your inside opening up to receive your consciousness. And you are the awareness of all of this, relaxing as that awareness now. It's easy to become aware of the sensations of the body. Sense of weight or density, the heaviness and the lightness. And from this awareness we can let the heaviness or the lightness just be itself. As we begin to enjoy the awareness of this heaviness or lightness as it appears and disappears.
Can you let me in?
And maybe we are aware of areas which are more moist or humid in our experience and areas which are more dry. Maybe we can let this wetness or dryness be whatever it is as it appears. or disappears, moving as it will. And now here, running through this field of experience, is the sense of heat and cold. Some areas are more hot, some areas more cool. And relaxing as the awareness in which these sensations appear. Maybe we can let the hot and the cold be itself as it is, in movement, alive. And all these sensations of heaviness, temperature, moisture, are just causing us to release even more easily into the one which is aware of this physical universe. Finding ourselves now as the space in which every sensation appears and disappears. Now I'd like you to gather up again your consciousness, to connect to the depth of yourself, the depth of your being. Just noticing how your being, yourself, opens up to receive that consciousness. Let yourself sense the vibrations of your own presence right here, right now. The you-ness of you, the sense of you, the sense of your own self in this moment, here now. When you touch for a moment that sense of your own presence here, in this moment, this essence of you, allow it to expand a little. wherever you are aware, letting it have a life of its own. Reconnecting and merging with the deep sense of your own self, the essence of you, the you-ness of you, as you are being here, alive right now, at the center of you. Breathing into that, and with the out-breath letting it expand however it wants to. Notice that you are the one that is noticing this perfect pure awareness in which this essence of you is appearing as a sensation. Relaxing as the still space in which all sensation occurs, as you allow the sense of the you-ness of you, right here, right now, present. And as you breathe in and out, this essence can expand a little more, become softer, looser, more free. Sharing it wherever you are aware. And share this atmosphere of your own presence with the physical body and the earth. Wherever you are aware, it's so easy to share it. You can also share this presence of yourself with the far distance, with the far distant horizons of your awareness. Letting your presence also be there to be shared, wherever you are aware. Far, far, far. And moving now again back to the center, close, close, close into the you-ness of you, coming to zero distance, at the root of yourself, deep in the heart, deep into the center, becoming yourself, being this presence. Perceiving from here, opening up to whatever you feel, close to home at the center of yourself. Letting your consciousness be absorbed there. Letting yourself share deep inside, wherever you are aware. This nectar of you so close to the source of yourself. And as you rest here, softly and playfully, maybe you can remember a time when you had a sense of being a misfit, being faulty, being a mistake. Maybe the first time you felt that you were different. And something about this essence of you couldn't fit in. And I'd like you to soften into that memory now. Allowing it to come to life. What space are you in now? Who is around you? How does this sense of fault feel within your body? What sounds can you hear? How does your body respond to these sounds? are there any particular colors or patterns of light in the space that you're in? How is your body responding to this color or patterning of light and darkness? Is there a particular smell within this memory? Is there a particular scent associated with this memory of being at fault? How is the body responding to this scent, to this smell? Now I'd like you to connect again with that sense of your own essence, your presence in the here and now, the you-ness of you, the nectar of your heart, your being here, alive now. As free as the air, wherever you are aware. And now perhaps you can bring your attention again back to the sense of being at fault, this feeling of fault, the sensations of mistake. And let this energy come to life, this feeling of being a misfit. Let it appear in this awareness within the field of your own presence. The sensations of being different. Can you feel the specialness in this difference? Is there anything that you feel you could touch with love? How would it be to relate to this sense of fault as a very precious being? Just try that for a moment. Feeling the perfection inside the sense of fault. Don't think about it. Just connect that pure nectar of awareness within the faultiness. Allowing the golden substance of this fault to come to life now. The aliveness of it, the beauty of it, the uniqueness. The pure sense of imperfection is coming to life now, like a healing wand moving through all the field of experience, past, present, and future. Letting the magic of imperfection come to life now. Noticing your essence within it. Sharing your essence wherever you are aware. And whether or not you're aware of it, allowing this magical sense of fault, this difference, this uniqueness, to activate all the processes now. You rest as the perfect awareness, aware as the air and the space in which all this is alive and can come to life. Okay, as we come back to the here and now, we say goodbye to our friends and dear sweet souls watching us on the live stream. Lovely to feel your presence, and enjoy the rest of your day and night, and we hope to see you next week when it's New Year. Yay! But still it will be Wednesday, so have a lovely week until then. Bye.